Welcome to Rooster Radio, a broadcast dedicated to supporting and promoting local artists in the Gaston County and surrounding areas.
You did almost say fuck, which was good. And this will be the first podcast that I'm free to curse on.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And so I did one for the city of Charlotte, and I said hell, and it sent the whole city into a tizzy. They didn't know what to do. Should we bleep it or should we not? And I'm like, I don't know. And they had like their attorneys involved. And
Oh, goodness.
So
That's we just our host for our open mic. The county government has their own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And they use it to get information out, and then they've started these different series. And one of them's called like Savvy Sounds, where they bring in local musicians that write music and they play music. So they asked me and Jade to come so that they could promote her music and our open mic in one show. And it was funny because it's government. It's a government building that we're in, and it's this little office that they've converted into a little studio. And we get in there, and Jade's like, I can't cuss, right? And they're like, no. And she does her thing. We do her thing. And as soon as we're done, she goes, fuck!
Oh.
I'm like,
Just to let it out.
I love her so much.
But no, I mean, I don't. This show is for everybody.
There
if
you
you're
go.
offended by curse words, sorry.
Oh, no.
You know, like
If
just
they're
let
all in the
people talk.
Bible.
I mean, sell your ears for an episode or two. You'll like it.
Yeah. Well, so and I did bring instruments if
Hell yeah.
if you
yeah.
wanted a song.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Should we get that now, or you want to?
If you want to go ahead and bring them in, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got a roadie. Ready?
Yeah.
We have two things, and we have instruments and merch giveaways.
Awesome. This is gonna be a fun one. I can tell.
That is not what I expected him to look like. I'm just going to be honest.
He came into open mic a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I was really kind of taken aback by how excited he was. I felt like he was doing me a favor doing this show.
Yeah.
But he's like super grateful, and this whole thing started because we have the same barber.
You know, a lot of good things start because people have the same
Barbershops,
barber.
baby. Stop fucking around with great clips or whatever. That place, that's not a barbershop.
Get you a consistent barber.
Get you a good barber. Good things will happen.
No, I have a recommendation, right? You tell them how we met.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. How, you know, if it weren't for my barber, this never would have happened.
Well, I'm super honored. I have been listening to you, and I came down here on the open mic, and it's been great. It's neat, and
Open mic is so much fun.
Y'all don't know, but I'm pretty tapped into Gaston County. I know that sounds weird.
It does. It actually, before working here, I would have said yes. That sounds weird,
Yeah.
but no, I get it.
No, but I'm on the board at Gaston College, and I'm on the board for the GBA, which is the Gaston Business Alliance.
Oh, they reined you in, huh? I'm on the board for the museum in Dallas.
For Gaston College.
Yeah, he works for Gaston.
What do you do at Gaston College?
I'm the new sports media and lab assistant.
Nice. Well, so somebody told me that I was the most. Here we go. Someone told me I was the most successful person ever to graduate from Gaston College, and I'm like, there's got to be a cop or a nurse or a school teacher that's way more successful than me.
Yeah.
But they're just talking money-wise. But
Yeah, well, I mean, plus, you know, when anytime anybody in this community does something big or something really good or something real visible, you know, these organizations see an opportunity in those people. Just
Yeah.
like I said, I'm on the board for the museum, and I was recruited.
Is that the Shield?
No, not the Shield, the Gaston County Museum.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The one of
It's in Dallas.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
got they've got all the artifacts from the old mills and
Yeah.
stuff, and they've
Yeah.
got Coletta's first ice cream cart
Okay.
is in the museum, and from Tony's Ice Cream. For those who don't know, the Coletta family, he's been running. Tony's Ice Cream started as Tony Coletta had a little cart back in the early 1900s, and he would go to all of the little textile mills
Right.
and sell his ice cream like during
Okay.
lunch breaks and stuff, and that's how Tony's Ice Cream started. And so we have his first cart still in the museum.
Is that?
Yeah, it's a really cool museum.
Yeah, and they got a lot of great
Yeah, I
programming
know.
for
I've
kids.
been in there, and my college roommate was a curator there. I mean, that's the thing. So with my students, I do guess my degree. Hey, do y'all want to play the game?
I mean,
don't wanna
it's
play
not
this?
accounting.
No. I don't know anything about accounting.
That's funny.
I
You
mean,
say
I
that.
may know something now. Is this the part of the podcast that's not part of the
Probably.
podcast?
Probably so.
Dadgummit. I was trying to be aware, but
Business management.
no, that's good. That's good.
Education.
That's good. We keep rolling. No.
Oh, he's gonna make us
Oh,
guess.
wow, he's gonna keep us
Physical education.
Yeah, I love that. No.
quantum physics.
Look
I'm
at-
just gonna go for it.
Look how upset my son is. Yeah, yeah. All right, history museum studies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And my master's is in theology and worship, so I'm super good at Trivial Pursuit and Jeopardy.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
definitely.
That's all I'm qualified to do. But other than that, they're not that all lucrative. They're not lucrative at all. I just
Well,
thought they were
anything it's really hard to make something that you're passionate about make you money.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
Well, I don't know. I would say make you quick money, because I think you can go get a nursing degree or electrical, or HVAC, and then you can get money.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do believe that in the long run, if you focus on your passion, you'll eventually make money.
You have to be patient enough, and you have to have the courage to follow all
Yeah.
the way through. Most people will get scared off at the first sight of true turmoil. Just like with us, during the buying this building before the pandemic, and then having that happen, I had at least a half a dozen opportunities to sell this building during the pandemic, where I told every single one of them, I said, no, not interested.
Yeah.
And that takes courage, because
It does.
it's not like we were sitting on a bunch of money or nothing.
Right.
We weren't that comfortable. I just believed in the dream, and that's probably a great place to start the conversation.
Yes,
about-
and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining the Rooster podcast. My name is Chris Elmore. I will absolutely take over this entire show.
Let's
and
do it.
I'll never be asked back ever again.
You might be asked to become a part of the show. Be careful.
Yeah.
You might find a job. So Chris, for those who don't know, Chris is founder of AvidXchange. This wasn't solo though. You had partners,
Well,
right?
yeah, and by the way, and I'm the least of it. I was there in the very beginning. Really, the founder of AvidXchange is a guy named Mike Prager and David Miller. And they were the two that got together in 2000, started the idea. And then I had actually worked for Mike. And so Mike and the company before that, careershop.com, he asked me to come over to AvidXchange. So I like to say I'm an early employee. I think saying founders probably.
Taking liberty.
Probably. I mean, I don't really care. But
But you were still instrumental in the growth, and
I'd like to think so. If I haven't, I've been wasting about 23 years. But I've had a front row seat. AvidXchange has been a pretty remarkable thing. And I interrupted you.
No, it's fine.
I was
It's
kind of curious about how much
Well,
research.
I don't want to spend too much time on this. This isn't really why you're here.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but for most that are watching probably want to hear this, and I do have one burning question, which
Oh,
we'll get to in a
okay.
second.
All right.
But AvidXchange, everyone knows the name because it's a Charlotte company that went public in recent years. You were a big part of that growth. You've got branding all over the NC Music Factory,
right.
and that kind of leads to that's the burning question I have.
Yeah.
What is the relationship between AvidXchange, the Fillmore, NC Music Factory, and how did that come about?
Great question. Absolutely nothing. So personally for AvidXchange, it's great. But people get confused about what AvidXchange is. We automate the accounts payable process and the payments process.
Right.
I mean, it's not sexy. I part of my bio, I've written 12 books. 8 of them is on the accounts payable process. And if you want to clear a room at a party, you tell them you've written a book about accounts payable. I mean, it's not sexy. My son doesn't think that's funny. By the way, Ed Elmore is here. He's in the house.
Hi, Ed.
He waved as if you could see that on the podcast. I'm working on his media training. But anyway, we were really fortunate because the state of North Carolina and the city of Charlotte came together, and we said we were going to plant 608 jobs. I don't know where we came up with the number. 608 jobs. What's the best deal you can give us? The Music Factory had space. We got a nice grant from the state of North Carolina to put our building there. And then in the process, as part of negotiating it, we were able to acquire the name rights to the Music Factory, and we bought a street and named it AvidXchange Lane.
Okay.
And basically, we purchased those rights. And I tell you, the best place that it shows up for us is in recruiting. You know, people come and see us. They go see a concert, and they're like, "What's this AvidXchange?" But people are always constantly think that we're in the music business.
That's the reason why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
And
Get that
it's-
out of the way.
Yeah, and it's a testament to like how a public-private partnership can work
For
to
sure.
both parties' advantage.
sure.
Getting in business with the government isn't, it sounds evil, but here's where it can work. AvidXchange brought this opportunity to the city, and in return, the city offered the exposure that you
That's right.
aren't going to get on your own.
Nope.
And the only thing I hate about that area is when they built the parking deck, they kind of took away the whole tailgate vibe
For
before
sure.
shows.
For
But
sure.
but
Well,
it's small price to
now
pay.
you can go back in the back.
Yeah,
It-
yeah, you
so
can.
But I thought you were going to talk about Maddie's, the diner.
No.
Okay, so it was my idea to build the building around Maddie's.
Okay.
Like in the cartoons.
Yeah.
But everyone thought that was a stupid idea. But I wanted to keep the diner, and I wanted to put our building around it, kind of like what's the name of that one?
It's the little house where everything gets built around it.
Yeah.
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 I know what you're talking about. I
But
don't know the name of it.
there's one in Plaza Midwood that anyway, this hopefully you're going to be doing some editing on this.
It's
podcast.
fine, man. It's like
That was
all right,
going
so-
nowhere even when I started. I
Well,
was
no,
like, how do
yeah,
I get
I
out
think
of
I
this?
think the point you were making was like there's in the sacrifice that had to be made was taking away this cool thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just put it on a trailer and it went down the road. But the long and short of it is, and then the other thing was, people are constantly asking me for tickets. even Ed's older sister, she was like, "Hey, I got this band. Can you get me some tickets?" I'm like, "No." Live Nation controls all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to get into the minutia of all that. I just wanted to clear the air of like what the relationship is.
Yeah.
But
But let's stop talking about automated accounts payable.
yes, and
I
let's
can,
get into
I
the
can
reason
hear
why
the
you're
dial
here.
turning on the podcast.
Well, let's talk about why you're here because the thing, like, so the reason you're here is because we have the same barber.
Yes.
So I'm getting my hair cut one day, and Kyle's telling me about you and said that he mentioned us to you and that you seemed somewhat interested in what we're doing. So I told him, I was like, well, tell him I'd love to talk to him, blah, blah, blah.
Awesome.
Fast forward, here we are. And after we talked, he told me that you were doing this 10,000 hour thing.
Right.
And so I went on the internet, Googled you, did some research, and was like, now this is super interesting. Accounts payable is boring.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
But,
sure.
but this is super
Yeah.
interesting because from the hard work and dedication you put into your career, you were able to position yourself to take this challenge on, this new venture,
Right.
this artistic adventure.
Right.
Now, my first question is, how do you go from getting the degrees that you have to showing an interest in becoming a musician? Like, what was the catalyst that sparked that ignited the fire there?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you the whole story, and it really is. It starts in the basement of my buddy's house, Dennis Hartley, in 1985. Should we go around the room and what was
No,
going on?
we're not
in
going to date
85?
ourselves.
Hey, one thing.
Yeah.
So, I know you were born in May of 1979 because I listened to the podcast, but I don't know what day
31st.
Oh, I'm May 12th, 1969.
Oh,
so
wow.
I thought for a moment this was all going to come together and this podcast was going to be awesome, but I guess that didn't work out.
It is going to be an awesome podcast.
It is going to be an awesome podcast,
Yes.
but I thought if we were born on the same day 10 years apart, that would...
I can
Okay,
change my
moving on.
birthday.
No, please don't. I don't want
It's a
you to...
little weird.
It
A
is
little
a little
weird, but
weird.
if it
It's a
makes it
little
work.
weird.
No,
That's weird.
But so it all started, it was 1985, Dennis Hartley's basement, and he looks at me in a moment that only two 16-year-olds can do, and he looks at me and goes, man, why can't we meet girls? And I said, well, Dennis, let's think about this. We're not handsome, we're not athletic, and we're really bad at school. I tell people I was in the half of the class that made the top half possible. And I have been supportive ever since. You know, I was like, I'm so supportive. I
Just
probably
like the best
shouldn't be
spin
telling.
on- That's the best spin on that I've ever heard.
Well, you know, you can. I've been very supportive. So, and Dennis looked at me in that second. He goes, "We should start a band," just like that, because it was our last option. And I was like, "Yeah, let's do that. Let's start a band." And I go, "How do we do it?" I said, "In order to get a band, we need money." And Dennis looked at me and goes, "We should get jobs at Arby's." So we get in his Toyota Tercel. By the way, all this is a true story. We get in his Toyota Tercel. We drive to Arby's. We go to the front, and I still remember the look on the young woman's face when we said, we want to meet girls. We want to start a band. We'd like to get a job here at Arby's because Arby's had just opened up. And she said, you got to fill out an application. So we filled out an application. Then it got to desired salary. And so Dennis looks at me and says, how much should we ask for? And I'm like, well, I took out a napkin, and we started going down the line. This is a true story. We're like, well, we need guitars, we need amps, we need lights, and because it was the 80s, we need spandex, we need boots, we need Final Net hairspray. And then last is guy liner. It's not eyeliner, it's guy liner. So we need all of that. And then we were like, how much hours can we work? And then we added it all up, and it was $2.11 per hour. We put $2.11 per hour. We turned the application in. The young woman said, the manager wants to meet you. I think he needed a little kick in the pants that night. He sits us down. Dennis is to my left. The manager's right in front of us, and he's going down the list, and he gets to the $2.11 per hour, and his head goes back. And he says, I can't believe he asked this question. He says, where did you come up with that? Mm-hmm. And I
you
took
show
that.
him the napkin?
I did. I was like using the napkin like a PowerPoint, you know?
See, you say you were a bad student, but it sounds like at 16 you already had the analytical mind to.
I wouldn't mind getting to that because there's a reason why I was a bad student, and it crystallized at Gaston College. But when we went down that list, and the guy listened to us, and he for some reason let me finish, and he goes, "Well, you fellas know minimum wage is $3.35." And I looked at Dennis and I was like, we are rich. we were high-fiving and they're like, yeah, $3.35, are you kidding me? And we didn't know anything about withholding or, any
You
of
didn't
that
know anything
stuff.
about minimum wage.
But I'll tell you, this is the God's honest truth. We didn't know anything about anything.
You're right.
We got jobs there, and then we got the drummer a job there. And it was the only time I think Arby's has ever run out of roast beef. When all three of you know how hard that is to work a drive-through when you have no roast beef at Arby's. But this
that was their whole thing for years.
This podcast is sponsored by Arby's. No, so
I'll tag them in it. So.
let's go. But here's the final point of that story: is I saved up all of my money and I bought a guitar at the local. Music store, and it cost $1,049 in 1986.
Wow.
Damn, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
It's a Guild Pilot. It's a bass guitar, and I got to tell you, that thing, even today, I still play it, and it sounds fantastic.
I love the fact that you still have it.
But here's the rest of the story. Hopefully, by the way, I'm a huge crier.
Okay.
Okay,
I got you.
has that happened on the podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Me.
Okay, good. We'll cry together. But I get super emotional about this. But 3 years later, that was the exact instrument I was playing the night I met his mom.
Oh.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Hopefully
You're gonna
you-
love that story one day. Right now, it's probably kind of cringy, but
Yeah.
you'll like it one day.
Oh, I mean, there's way more cringy stuff we're gonna get to, but yeah, no. So the plan worked. It worked to perfection.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it worked. It worked, and she and I have been So Adele is her name. If she ever leaves me, I'm going with her. Thank you. I got another one that's even funnier. You ever notice when couples get older, they start looking similar? One day I'm gonna be super hot. Yeah. But Tuesday. See, that's good stuff right there, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I know Michael and I, we got to be thinking about our own spouses
Right.
at the same time.
By the way, use this freely. I freely give. I want you to. But Tuesday, we've been married 30 years.
Hell, congratulations, dude.
In a row.
In a row. Wow.
Yeah.
My wife and I are coming up on 10 years together, 6 years of marriage. So
Yeah.
we met a little later in life. But
That's all right.
well, because it just popped in my head, you talking about your wife. One story Kyle told me.
Yeah,
you got a
okay.
tattoo.
Yes.
Do you want to tell that story?
Which one?
The pig.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to
Okay.
tell that story. This one
Okay.
right here.
Because in my mind,
Yeah.
this is an inspirational story.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's more of an FU than my mind.
Well, it's an inspiration for someone like me who's trying to do something big.
Good.
Okay.
I appreciate that because, anytime I tell an entrepreneur, and I tell you this too, and I'll just say that, when you have big dreams, you have to be super, super selective on who you let in on those big dreams.
You
And
I got about that.
I gotta tell you, the worst place to go and let your big dreams out is with your family, because they're the first ones that'll shit on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't tell my mom anything, even though she won't shit on stuff. I won't tell my mom anything, but my mom gets super nervous for me. So I didn't tell her we were starting AvidXchange. I didn't tell her we were starting CareerShop.com. I didn't tell her all of that stuff. I don't tell her any of that stuff because she just gets nervous. She's like, no, don't do that. But as it turned out, when I got married into a family. My in-laws, they just didn't take to me very well. And Adela's uncle, when we started AvidXchange, he said I was going to be successful when pigs fly, and I'm like, oh, whatever. He's pretty vocal about me not being successful. They also did a pool on our marriage, which was
That's fucked up.
That is really fucked up.
it is. This is family, though. Everyone in podcast land is going like, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking
I mean, I do know exactly what you're talking about, but it's still fucked up.
It is. But you want to know what the top line was?
What?
6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the top line. That was the big one. That was how long the marriage would last.
It's kind of fun to prove people wrong.
It's
Yeah,
very
it's
fun.
very
It's very fun.
And if you're anything like me, which I'm sure you are, I'm really humble. Like I don't pound my chest about much.
Yeah.
Outside of being a good dad and a good husband, I don't really pound my chest about much. So when we do have successes, when we put on a festival and we double record sales and I don't really gloat about it, but it is kind of nice. It's a good feeling.
I mean, what Yogi Berra said, if you don't promote yourself, no one else will.
Right.
And someone at AvidXchange called me the best humble bragger they know. And I'll tell you, I don't like to brag either, but I like you, and I think you got to let your accomplishments speak for themselves.
That's kind of how I feel about it. I feel like it's the whole they'll see
Yeah.
mentality. It's like I know what the potential is. I know where my heart's at. The path that we're on. I can explain it to you, but until you see it for yourself, that kind of thing. So anyway.
But I got to tell you that, and I will get back to the tattoo. But I got to tell you, this world needs big thoughts.
I agree.
And people, for some reason, think that the more conservative you are on your thinking, the less likely you're going to risk. And I believe that that's kind of opposite, a little bit opposite. I think that you need to have big thoughts, big dreams, and the world needs that. And then people talk about the about Charlotte and the Charlotte area, and they're like, why aren't there, there's only one AvidXchange, and there's only a couple of companies that have grown to our size. And I just think it's because people just won't think that big. They'll get in their own way.
It's a common theme you find in the South. It's like protect what's mine.
Yeah.
And, let's not take a big risk.
It's to stick with what you know.
Yeah.
Don't branch out.
It's security
into
is what it is. It's security.
Yeah.
And the further we get into the evolution of the digital age, security, it's becoming more and more scarce. And it's almost like people want to hoard that feeling.
Yeah.
They're scared to take risks. And when they see someone else take a risk, they're really quick to judge and really quick to ridicule, because I think on some level, on a psychological level, when you see somebody else take a risk that you're not willing to take, there's a little bit of anger and jealousy because deep
That's
down,
right.
we all know
That's
that
right.
if we're willing to take a risk, it can pay off huge. And even if you fail, you're still going to learn something valuable from that experience. But people are just too afraid to do it.
Let's go there. Here's my definition of failure. By the way, I believe that you can't accomplish anything without a definition. I feel like we're getting ready to get into an Amway meeting. Who's with me? Y'all with me? Let's go. Let's go sell. But look, I want people to hear me. I don't think that you can. So if you want to be successful, what's your definition of success? If you want to have a good day, what's your definition of a good day? If you want to be happy, what's your definition of happiness? And then failure is my favorite. And here's my definition of failure, is when I do something stupid twice. That's it.
Yeah.
Other than that, and I don't think I've ever failed. Because if you have that definition, you send yourself to school. And if the hard ones, the really hard ones, you don't ever do those again. I'm not going to say that's worth it, but you sent yourself to school on that one. So my definition of failure is you do something stupid twice.
Yeah, and I've had swings and misses. Before this, I had other businesses, and I had one in particular that was very successful. And that one it was my first business.
That's
my
cool.
very first business was very successful. But you know where the failure came in? It was not a sustainable model. I was very dependent on one company for like 95% of my income.
Yeah.
And when that company got bought by a bigger company, I was one of the first things to go.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, I was successful enough with that business to kind of lay the foundation for the things I did leading up to this.
I was going to say, you going to do that again?
Never.
No. No, I've seen a lot of those. I've seen a lot of those businesses where they have one or two clients. And now that's one thing I love about AvidXchange is it's super spread out.
Yeah. So, it's, again, being afraid of failure is one thing, but when you're willing to take that risk, and whether you fail or if you have the right attitude, I've seen people, I know people that have taken a risk, they've failed, and instead of learning from it and building something new or building something different, it just becomes the defining moment of their whole life.
That's it.
And they spend the rest of their life using that as an excuse to not do anything.
Yeah. I had a mentor tell me that failure is just a thing. It's not a person, so don't sign up for it.
Yeah.
But risk, now we'll talk about risk. Now, I'm not a risk taker. But people are like, what? That sounds sick. But I am not a risk taker. I mean, I think people confuse risk and uncertainty a lot of times. I know we're getting a little philosophical here, but I believe that great entrepreneurs are really good at dealing with uncertainty. And now you have that in this business
Big
here.
time.
Yeah.
Big time.
And how do you deal with uncertainty? Now, I have a thing.
Not great lately.
Well, I mean, I have a thing that anytime that I've had a business challenge, I've always called my way out of it, which means I just call more people. I just go see more people. I go meet more people. It sounds simple, but the thing is, whenever we're in a bad spot, and at AvidXchange, we were in a bad spot a lot. I got in the second year, Adela hates me talking about this, but I got my car repoed, and it's a Nissan Altima. And it's like the most affordable car in the world. Anybody that gets a Nissan Altima repoed, folks, you are not doing well. And this probably gave credence to Adela's uncle, who said that I was going to be successful when pigs fly. And the tattoo you're referring to is a pig flying tattoo that I got when AvidXchange went public 2 years ago in October. And I was you want to react to the story? Apparently you attached to it.
Well, it's when he told me that story, it made me think of some of the things some of my friends. It wasn't really family. My family's actually really supportive.
That's great.
Most of my family. There's a handful of people that naysay, But most of my family was really supportive of this decision, but it was mainly some of my friends that I was really disappointed in their reaction to this idea. But at the same time, after thinking about it for a while, I understand, like, most of these friends work in industries where, they're all risk adverse.
Yeah.
But when he told me that story, my mind just kind of flooded with some of the things that some of the friends I had had said to me, about opening this place. And it did create an emotional attachment to me because, it's so perfect. It's so fucking perfect. Like a flying pig, and then, visions of the Primus album cover, in my, just, there's a lot of attachment that I had to that story, and that's why I brought it up.
Well, and fortunately, we're estranged from the uncle. I hadn't talked to him, 10 years maybe. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he'll listen to the podcast.
Somehow get that link into his inbox.
But I didn't.
And the other part of it, and the other part is how it's like you're not. What you did was personal. It was for you. It's not really for anybody else. And it goes back to being humble. Like you could easily throw this in the face of anyone that said, but instead you're just continuing on your journey, and I respect that mentality and that way of conducting yourself too.
Well, Adela says if there was an award for humility, I'd win it and beat everyone. There we go.
Speaking of your path, let's get to when did you decide to do the 10,000 hour journey? What was the inspiration? We talked about 1985.
Yes.
You got your job, you got your guitar, you still have it. So you've reached a great success with the thing that with the AvidXchange. Now it's like, what am I going to do next? Or like, where were you at in your head when you decided that this is the next thing?
Well, so the backstory to that is in 86, 87, I started playing in bands, and I pretty much since then I've been in a band.
Okay.
And right now I'm in 4. And yeah, I know, and they're all kind of crazy.
That seems to be normal these days.
Yeah. Well, by the way, that is the thing about the 10,000 hours I want to talk about, and that's the thing about this place that's so important for 10,000 hours. It's all going to tie together, and so I teach. I'm an adjunct professor at UNCC. Mm-hmm. I'll let everyone. A C student can be a professor too. Now, as this gets back to UNCC, I'm pretty much screwed. But I love teaching. I've been teaching at UNCC for 8 years, and I teach entrepreneurship. And there was a part in the class that I was really struggling with because there's this thing that there's a thing that people acquire skills, and when you look at them, you think, well, they're just born with that. They're either like really good with people, they're great, they're a fantastic musician, they're just all natural. And I was influenced by this guy named Malcolm Gladwell. Have you ever heard of him?
I've heard the name.
Yeah. He wrote a book. I can't remember what the name of the book was. But in the book, he said that there was a famous study that took just pure grit and determination on 10,000 hours of practice and talent. And it took them side by side and said, what's more important? And it came out that it's the 10,000 hours.
Right.
Is that the person with the natural talent, you can actually, and that gave me a lot of hope because I've been what I consider a marginal musician for almost 40 years now, and I'm like, I should be a lot better than I actually am. So I put the 10,000 hours in my class, and we started studying entrepreneurs that had 10,000 hours worth of trade. But Malcolm Gladwell uses the Beatles as an example in Hamburg, Germany. And he said the Beatles sound came together because they played 7 days a week in Hamburg, like 3 shows, 6 hours, 8 hours, just an incredible amount of time. And they got 10,000 hours together as a band right then and there. And it started me thinking because there's a thing in Charlotte called Music Anywhere, and it's pretty interesting.
I get their emails.
Yeah, AvidXchange has been a big supporter of theirs, and we continue to be. And I want
it's Music Everywhere.
Music Everywhere.
Music Everywhere CLT.
What did I say?
Music Anywhere.
Okay. Well, see how big of a supporter
I just wanted to give them the credit. I just wanted to give them the credit.
No, get it.
Music Everywhere.
But so when I started talking with them, I was like, we should we should help musicians get their 10,000 hours. Because the thing about it is that when a musician gets its 10,000 hours, and when a musician gets 10,000 performing hours, and a band gets 10,000 performing hours, and another band gets 10,000 performing hours, they start mixing. And when they start mixing, they start joining other bands, and then you get Nirvana.
Yeah.
And then you get the Seattle sound, and then you get Seattle, and then you get Athens, then you get Nashville. That's all that is, in my opinion, is just a collection of a bunch of musicians that got their 10,000 hours.
I'm getting chills while you
Go,
say
man,
that.
go.
I'm getting chills. So what you're describing is exactly the intention of what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. That's it.
What you're talking
That's what I
about,
was feeling.
creating a scene.
That's right.
Building a scene. I'm not saying we can be Seattle. I'm not saying we can be Nashville, but we can make a lot of noise in the Southeast.
Agreed.
By creating a scene in the Charlotte market, by approaching this with a collaborative mindset.
Agreed.
The open mic that we do every week, a lot of the regulars, they're not just here on Wednesday. They're at the place that does open mic on Thursday. And then Fridays and Saturdays, they're gigging. Sometimes on Sundays, they're gigging. They're getting it. Now there's a new open mic on Sundays that one of our open micers is hosting, right? And they're all getting these opportunities every single week to get out there and perfect their craft. We've got everything from novices to professionals coming in every week, and I see them all mixing up. And as a result, we've booked shows. We've got a show coming up in September that with the very first person to perform at our open mic is Beth Gatlin. Shout out to Beth Gatlin. She's performing on the 23rd of September here with her band doing a Janis Joplin tribute. And her opening band is Anna and Friends, who's Anna Holloway, and two of our other open micers all performing together, just like you just described.
That's it.
Working together. And shout out to Music Everywhere Charlotte. If you haven't heard of it, go to their website. It's Music Everywhere CLT. They join their newsletter because they're really good about every week sending out, like, this is where all the open mics are this week. This is the artist of the week in the Charlotte scene. This is next week's artist. This is the album of the week. And they're constantly highlighting people doing original art here in the Charlotte scene. And so I recommend it. I read their emails every week. I hate it when my open mic's not in there. It's in there most weeks, but sometimes it's not. And I'm like, oh, get in
All
there.
right.
So,
We got to make sure that happens.
but I appreciate what they're doing with that, and it's a testament to the power of what we can do when we work together. Not get competitive about it. We're not the only open mic on Wednesday. I encourage you to come here, but if not here, maybe you're closer to one of the places in Charlotte. Makes sense. But get out there, get involved, and keep putting that positive energy, because we can build a scene here. And what's cool about this scene, like what came out of Seattle was a very specific sound. That grunge style. Yep. Nashville was country. But what I'm seeing here in the Charlotte area is I'm seeing a very eclectic group of musicians. Like, who knows what the sound could be?
Oh, I think it's going to be based on the ukulele. All right, moving on, whatever.
This is
moving on.
now it's time to perform. You brought it up.
And
You want to grab that ukulele and intro something for us?
Do you want a song?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
Let's do
Did
it.
you want to play, Ed?
All right, we're gonna bring Ed into the picture.
Yeah.
Come on in. Throw me that pillow so you can get in there.
All right, let's do this. All right,
Now,
come on
while
in,
you're
Ed.
setting up, let me ask. So, with you've been involved with music his entire life, more than. So, was it difficult to get
Conceived to music.
most, like most of us? So, how old were you when you started to take an interest in performing?
15, I think. 15, I picked up the bass guitar.
Yeah.
And then a year after that, I picked up drums.
They're way more fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of upset me because he started playing bass, which is what I wanted him to do. And all kids never listen to their parents. And so anyway, he said he wanted, and I thought this was genius. He said he wanted to learn to play the drums to be a better bass player. And then he started playing the drums. He's never played the bass again.
It is
Yeah.
the rhythm section.
Played the bass
Little
a
bit, little bit, yeah.
Now, so he was 15 when he started to take the interest. Did it come naturally, or did you try to influence that at all? Like, was he receptive to it as a young man?
Tell him.
I really sucked. I
Yeah.
was pretty bad for a
We
long
all are at first.
But yeah, but it took me a while. I wasn't used to it at first.
I think you took to it quickly, but I think you took to it really quickly. But he asked me to teach him how to play, and I told him no. That he was going to have to learn it, get in his bedroom and learn it on his own for one reason. And I think we talked about this, is that the only way that I was going to start to teach him something if I saw that passion, and, you know, where he's sold on it.
Yeah.
And the only way I think you can get sold on is if you go in your bedroom and you start.
Yeah, I've struggled with that with my daughter. My daughter's 12.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have tried to like introduce things for interest, and it's like when it's your idea, it's never going to work.
No.
It needs to be their idea.
It's true. It's true. I'll tell you, as he's setting it up, are you got it?
Some trouble here.
Oh boy, you need to call the roadie. But I remember getting into a band because, well, first of all, I learned how to play the bass guitar. This is going to sound so stupid. I didn't have an amp, but I figured out that if I put my tooth on the top of the guitar,
You could hear it in your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned how to play.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's desperation. I wanted to meet girls. All right, come on, Ed. Let's do
Help me
this.
with this. I need to get it down so I can actually hit it correctly.
No, we got 2 seconds to do it.
Okay.
Go get your sticks.
I got my sticks in my pocket.
You know one of the best things about being in the band with your son? Do you know?
Well, what's that?
It's that it's the only band that I'm in that I can tell another member that their mom is hot and it doesn't cause any problems. All right, level guy, are we okay? How we doing, level guy? Okay, you got a good mix? Yeah. It's gonna be hot. I can tell already. All right, here we go. We're gonna do a little bit of Motley Crue. Ready?
We're ready.
Ready? Okay.
Hey.
You know I'm a dreamer, but my heart was cold. I had to run away high, so I wouldn't come home alone. Just when things look bad, doesn't mean they're always wrong. Just take this song and you'll never be left all alone. Take me to your heart, feel me in your bones. Just one more night and I'm coming on that winding road. I'm on my way. I'm on my way home, sweet home. Tonight, I'm on my way. Just set me free. Home, sweet home. Oh, drum solo. There we go. All right, yay. The crowd goes wild.
I can say that's the first time I've ever heard "Home Sweet Home" played on the ukulele.
There you go. Yeah, we get that a lot. So it is hairband ukulele. We do all 1980s hairband songs: Whitesnake, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses.
But that's like that's like a combination my husband and I would both like.
Yeah.
After the show, we'll look at the calendar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna be playing in Charlotte in September, so yeah, we play. I mean, we stay, and there's 2 other members of the band, so we have a bass player and the female singer. That's unbelievable, but it's 2 things that shouldn't go together that just do.
Dude, I have found never to
yeah.
expect, like, always be open-minded.
Yeah.
Almost every single week at our open mic, somebody surprises me.
There you go.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll show up on a Wednesday. I can surprise you.
There are even local bands like in the middle of their act, they'll just switch it up, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love when it's just not what you expect, but it just works.
Last night, we had a band here. Shout out to Oh You Pretty Things.
Yes.
Love those guys. They start playing a song. They're like, oh, we're going to need you to sing along. You're going to know the words.
I was like, what are we?
They start playing Deftones, Changing the House of Flies.
Nice.
But she sings Toxic by Britney Spears
There we
to
go.
the Deftones music.
There we go.
It was
fantastic.
amazing.
There you go. There you go.
Amazing. And so I love being surprised. Like just the creativity that people have, not only with their original music, but what people do with when they cover stuff. It's incredible. And ukulele, I don't, you know what I think it is? I think it was those Adam Sandler movies. Was it the 51st Dates or
Yeah, 51st
one with
Dates.
the guy
Yeah.
playing the Over the Rainbow? I think from there on, all of a sudden ukulele like became almost like a new genre.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it did really start with his name is Israel.
Oh yeah.
It's a mile long.
Yeah.
I don't want to butcher it right now.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at it to pronounce it. But
He's the big Samoan guy.
By the way, the take you hear him play on Spotify was once.
yes,
He
once.
did
Right.
one
And
take.
then when he became famous was after he passed away.
That's right.
right.
So and then it was 51st Dates that really made his song famous.
Right.
Well, I can play that one.
So you started playing bass. What
Yeah.
drew you into the ukulele?
Well, gosh, I think it was probably about 10 years ago. Adela just bought me one for Christmas. And
Okay.
that's the one thing I love about the ukulele is that you can actually buy a decent instrument for $80. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, that one's not $80,
Yeah.
but you don't have to. I got that in Nashville in Gru's Guitar. That's a 1972 Kamaka 8-string, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love
You
it.
had me at the case. I love the
Yeah,
case.
the
I
case.
was like, that's
yeah,
a nice
pretty
case.
good, yeah. No, well, that's a. We're going to say that's a pretty expensive instrument.
Yeah.
And it needs a decent case. But you can buy a good little ukulele for $80. You can go on YouTube and get a tutorial, and that evening you're performing.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the one thing I love about the ukulele. It's simple.
That's the one thing that I love about one of the few things that we love about technology is the access to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know, back when I was younger, it was you had to go to the music store and buy the tablets or books and stuff.
You know,
And now
if you were rich, I was poor. Both my parents are teachers. We
I was working at 14.
And
This
so-
was all my money.
So what we had to do was take the cassette tape and like listen to the lyrics and write the lyrics down.
I did that.
Yeah.
I remember
Unless-
doing that.
Yeah.
I
and-
used to take
Here we go.
blank cassette tapes, and we would record ourselves. Me and my neighborhood friends would record ourselves introing music, like songs that we liked,
Nice.
like we were the DJs.
Nice.
And then we'd sit by the radio, wait for that song to play, and then record after our intro and make our own little
Perfect.
mixtapes of us introing
Perfect.
songs.
Perfect.
So I did the exact same thing with my brother, except we used my bedroom window as the broadcasting station, and we did it for the whole freaking neighborhood.
Nice.
And I'm
that.
sure we annoyed our neighbors, but
We have a game in the Elmore family when we're on road trips to take a song, and you're supposed to DJ the intro of it. And what happens is we go around in a circle to do it, and as the circle goes around, the intro gets like worse and worse. You know, yeah, more and more graphic.
I did this other thing when I got introduced to Weird Al Yankovic when I was young. So I started taking melodies from songs and making my own, lyrics to them, and that was fun. That was like middle school years.
yeah.
That's awesome.
My dad did that before I even knew who Weird Al was, so we were constantly doing that. My mom's like, "Hey, check this out." So
I like broadcasting to the neighborhood. Did you get the cops show up or
No.
anything? No.
No.
Everyone was pretty cool about it.
yeah.
Did you have at least one fan that would like come hang out and be like, "This is cool,"
No.
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 but you
Sorry
do it
about that.
anyway?
I did it
Because
anyway.
fuck them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think we gave one. We did like a bunch of bands that my dad liked, and then this is your Father's Day gift. We made you a cassette tape. He still has that stuff that we made him, but
you
it's
go.
like the front, both sides of the tape were us doing our goofy stuff and
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and I encourage that with my daughter. Like anytime she's doing something, even if I think it's weird or
Yeah.
like if she's focused in and zoned in on something and it's creative, I'm like see where it goes.
Right.
Well, to me, that's the roots of all entrepreneurial efforts, adventures. And that, to me, my whole story, my first company I ever started was in 1976, was a garbage collecting business. And I did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I think I did well looking back, is that my parents borrowed money from me.
Yeah.
And so, and
Wow.
they never paid me back. But that's okay. They can have it at this point.
What did
But-
your parents do professionally?
Yeah,
if you
so
don't
my
mind me asking?
mom. No, I don't. I mean, shoot, my mom was a special ed teacher,
Okay.
and she retired as a special ed teacher. My dad, growing up, what got us to Boone was he taught at Appalachian. So he
Okay.
was
So both your parents were educators.
yeah, both parents are educators, and that I think that's the reason why I love teaching at the university. But also, it's the reason why I went in. Is also the reason why I became an entrepreneur. Now, here's the thing: I didn't become an entrepreneur because there was no people don't know about that like they do now. Back then, but when I started selling. At my core and at my heart, I'm a salesman. I'm a
That's the
salesperson.
one part of entrepreneurship that I hate.
Well, okay, so here's
salesman.
the thing. We should talk about that, not on the podcast because everyone will just turn it
Yeah,
off.
everyone will tune out if
but,
we do. But
think about it. If you're in a band, you are a salesperson because you
Yeah.
want to sell your idea, you want to sell your style, you want to sell your music, you want to sell to other, and when selling is done right, people don't know that you're selling.
that's what I haven't figured out.
And we can talk about
Yeah,
that.
I get really uncomfortable asking people for money. Really, that's what it comes down to.
We can talk about that because money equals value, and instead of asking people for money, you should tell people the value that you're going to provide, and the money is just simply a symbol of the value. That's the way that I look at it. And by the way, I like to charge a lot. I love that, and the value has to equal that charge.
Right.
So, but anyway, I don't know where I was going with this, except for I fell in love with selling. And
Well,
then
you were
that's
talking
what I
about how
realized.
being raised by educators,
But I wanted out of that. I didn't want to have anything to do with the politics. I didn't want to have anything to do with the life of the nonprofit worlds. Not that there's anything wrong with it at all. I greatly
You
admire it.
really have to have a passion for it to
Absolutely.
because it is
Absolutely.
very thankless.
Absolutely.
Of course, nowadays some of these nonprofit CEOs are a little out of hand with
yeah.
their salaries and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But and that's a whole other conversation to have. How do you maintain success without getting sucked into the political, zeitgeist, for lack of a better term?
Oh, it's a good. Thank you for using big words. That's a good one. So it's a thing. I call it strategic apathy,
Okay.
and that means that you just can't worry about everything. And so I'm constantly. This could be like a day in, day out, hour, minute. But I'm constantly asking myself, is this the hill I want to die on?
I do the same thing.
You
I do the
should.
same exact thing.
Yeah.
When a situation is put in front of me, and our natural inclination is to respond to it, I find myself asking myself the very same question:
right.
Is this worth it?
That's right. And everything can't be a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, you're going to be tired every day, all day.
Tired and stressed out.
And you're taking away the energy and time and focus you could be put into more productive things.
So when I send it through that little loop and I ask myself, is this the hill I want to die on? If it comes to a maybe or a no, I don't even worry about it. And that keeps me out of all politics.
Yeah. It gets harder and harder to do the deeper you get into it. But I'm always curious how, entrepreneurs, our goal is to sell whatever thing we're selling to as many people as possible. And we're just living in a time where it's like a lot of people are being forced to choose a side. I mean, look at what happened to Bud Light.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I got to tell you something. I consume zero media. So most of the things that go on in the world, I'm pretty clueless about. The only reason I know about Bud Light is because my wife told me. And I think if she hadn't have told me, I wouldn't have known.
When I made the decision to do the Rooster,
Yeah.
I stopped watching cable news. Like
That's
I'll
good.
still watch like
That's
local
good.
news for weather and stuff, and
Yeah.
I see what I see on social media and online. But I did the same exact thing, and let me tell you, I this is not hyperbole. My life got 1,000 times better when
There
I
you go.
stopped watching news.
There you go. It's I think my income doubled. It's been years ago, and the reason why is because it freed me up to think more creatively.
Yeah.
And I wasn't worried about everything. And when you watch the news, it just puts this huge focus on stuff. But
It's
anyway,
almost
I'm
like
glad
it's
we had that
designed to
conversation.
create anxiety.
I mean, if the whole definition of news is negative, in my opinion, because and Adela talks about this all the time because it was like, well, we should be on a reality series, and I'm like, it's going to be the most boring reality series in the world because we love each other, we don't have any issues,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just going to be so boring because we're just going to be sitting there happy, and no one's
Because they
going to
won't
watch
argue,
that.
They want arguments and fights
Exactly.
and drama.
Exactly. So anyway, well, let me ask you. I don't know how we doing on time. We about done, or
We're fine. I was going to ask for another song. if
Oh,
you're
I'm
up
in for
it.
another
Yeah.
song. Yeah, I'll do one. You want to do another song, and then you want to.
Let's do another song and
Okay.
then we'll close it out. How about that?
All right. I'm gonna do. I'll just do this one, Ed. It's okay. Poor Ed's sitting over there. Let's see
He's
if I
still
remember
drumming
it.
though.
You want to try it? You want to come in? By the way, this started it all. Well, I'm a axe grinder, pile driver. Mama said that I never mind you. Insane in the membrane, and the teacher said that I'm one big pain. Yeah, I got a razor, six-string razor. I got a mouth like an alligator. I want it louder, more power. Yeah, I want to strike it till it strikes the hour. Bang your head. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Mental health will drive you mad. Bang your head. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Mental health will drive you mad. Bang your head. Mental health will drive you mad. I forgot how tired this song makes me. Bang your head. Yeah. Watch this. Okay. That started it all, in my opinion. I remember listening to that song. Quiet Riot came out. I remember listening to that song. My brother had a Walkman, and I was sold. I was
Yeah.
like, God, so sold.
I always find it interesting. Like Quiet Riot played downtown Lincolnton like a few years back.
Really?
Yes.
Well, everyone's dead.
I know.
Yeah.
It was. I know, but it was like what it currently is, and it's just.
I mean, R.I.P.
Yeah, but it's like when you hear those big names and they're playing in a small
Yeah.
town, like big names that you
Well, that's
grew
because
up on and
that's
grew up
because the
around.
musicians are notoriously bad at not investing in the stock market, which I highly recommend. Just invest a little bit. Compound interest does an amazing thing. So, anyway, well, thanks for letting me play a little bit.
Absolutely. No, I'm thrilled to have you on the show. And I thank you for
Oh, shoot.
agreeing to come talk to me.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I feel like there's a lot more to talk about. But
there
yeah.
is. You know, and we can get into the minutia of the arts, and we can get into we can talk a little bit about. I would like to give some sort of inspirational message about taking what you've done and what you're doing now. I would like to have a similar road where I could get to a
Yes.
point of freedom where I can at some point make a pivot and say, let me try this
Yes.
other thing that I'm passionate about.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't the only thing I'm passionate about, but I am the most passionate about arts and music and entertainment, giving people something to do. This is a small town outside of Charlotte. It's like the last frontier around Charlotte that hasn't been gobbled up by big
Right.
investment,
Right.
And now, and what I like about what we're doing in Gaston County is that a lot of the investment are risk takers.
Yes.
It's not a lot of corporate money that's being just flooded into this area. It's people like me, people like the other business owners in downtown that don't have a legacy behind them, that don't have, a huge inheritance. It's just people that want to do something.
Yes.
And what I'm getting at is we have this opportunity to build this community the way that we want to, and not let it be influenced by, outsiders who aren't from here. We can preserve the history of this town and honor those that laid the groundwork for us. But you can't be scared. You can't be. You have to take the fear, and it's right to have fear. If you're not afraid, then that's a bigger problem.
True.
That's reckless. I think that's
I had
reckless.
a mentor say that fear stands for false evidence that appears real. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
But being able to overcome that fear, I'd like to see more people in this community do that, because a lot of even all the way down to the people that come into the shows, when we get into these small conversations with people, and I can hear the despair in some people's voice, how on the edge of life they are in terms of keeping their bills paid, keeping their house, keeping their car. We're all broke. Like in this town, but
we have a producer credit here. 29 cents. All right.
yeah, but don't let that be the thing that stops you. Your health is one thing. I understand you're unhealthy. You can't do this thing, but if you've got an idea, do the research. Don't just on a whim decide you want to do something. Take the time. to do something good.
Okay, so let me give you my best motivational speech. Okay,
Yeah.
and don't shut the podcast off. Listen. So in my class we studied dozens of entrepreneurs. They all have the ones that are successful. They all have the same thing in common that you have, and that is you just started.
Yeah.
You know, at AvidXchange, our business plan was real simple, but when we were kind of making it up as we went along, for the most part. You know, it's not there. And you did the one thing that successful entrepreneurs do, and that's start. So if anybody's listening, if they're like, I don't think I'm good enough to go on the open mic. I don't think I have enough songs to go downtown and do a set. I don't think. And the thing is, just start. So that's one thing. The second thing I'll say is everything is connected, which means that the job that you do, even if it's at McDonald's, the job that you do with passion is directly related to the music that you play.
Yeah, you started at Arby's.
Yeah. Yes, I did $3.35 an hour, up from $2. I got to raise immediately. It shows how great of a negotiator I am because I negotiated 35% under minimum wage.
Would that be a higher on bonus?
Yeah, that's it. But it's the first thing is to start. The second thing is everything is connected. So the passion that you put into your music is the same that you put into your job. It all works together. That all works together. And the last thing that I'll say is this, is that you know, and I've seen this in business so many times. I mean, I think we're doing $300 million in annual revenue. You know, we started with $0 million in annual revenue, you know? And so the only way that you know that you're achieving your goals is when you've realized you've set them too low. That's a key indicator that you are actually pursuing your goals, because that's what we did in business. We're like, well, shoot, if we got to this, we're going to get there, so let's just bump that up a little bit. Let's bump that up a little bit.
You know, that's it. I did this same thing with this. Like I had these goals that I had set for when we get this place open. We've already achieved a lot of those goals, and now I'm finding myself, creating new problems.
That's right.
to solve.
That's right.
So that we can
right.
keep building. And as long as I feel like as long as I keep doing that, we can keep pushing this. Right now I'm pushing it uphill. Eventually, I'd like to get to the top of the hill where I can let it fly, and then keep growing things. Festivals. We've got a huge. I've coordinated a bar crawl with 4 different businesses down here that we're bringing in vendors and entertainers and all kinds of stuff, and it's just keep building on the thing. Even during the pandemic, after I had taken the risk of buying this place, I could have let the pandemic whip my ass and scare me out of doing it.
That's right.
But I kept telling myself, every day, do at least one thing that gets you closer. So whether it was posting something on social media, whether it was researching a band to do a podcast, scheduling a show, every day during the pandemic, I did at least one thing that got me closer to the goal. And that one thing every day is what kept me interested, kept me wanting to push more. And believe me, this is not easy.
No.
This is really hard to do. No. But I'm happy to do it because no one else was going to.
Well, and the hard part comes in the disillusion and the frustration, and you're like, why am I doing this? But the thing is this. When you go and push those goals up a little bit, it opens up new goals. Mm-hmm. So you can never plan for those. So I applaud you. I hopefully you'll have me come back on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And what I'd like to do is in a year I'd like to come back and we're going to talk all about. You looked at your phone. All you have to do is add 1 to this year. And that'll be next year. Yeah. So, when I come back in a year, and it's going to go by like this because we're older people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're coming up on a year being open. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How is this?
Right. And then we'll get back together and we're going to talk about all the things that you've accomplished because this is going to be amazing.
I would love to.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm in. I want to make sure that I can help in some way.
Okay.
So,
do you want to play us out? You do.
Yeah. You want to do another one? Which one do you want to do?
If we're sticking with 80s.
You know some LA Guns?
Yeah.
Let's play some LA Guns.
Okay. I don't know any LA Guns.
You don't?
No.
Now I'm heartbroken.
I was trying to. We can do the one. How about we all sing? Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy, come on, born and raised in South Detroit. They took the midnight train going anywhere. Here goes my ukulele skills. Ready? Ah, it hurts. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Yes, see lights, people. Don't stop believing.
Yes, perfect. Yes.
I was hoping someone would sing.
No, that was a perfect spot to
I
end
was
the show.
hearing various keys, so I was wanting to. All right, thank you guys. Listen,
Thank you so
Listen, I
much for
love your
doing
mission
this.
and your purpose.
Thank
This is
you.
fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Peace and love.